In today's video, we are going to be learning how to use Pythagorean's theorem to solve for the leg. So last lesson, we learned how to solve for the hypotenuse. This one, we're going to find the leg, and you're going to use the same formula. You're just plugging into different letters, okay? So in diagram number one, again, this is always with right triangles only. It's important to figure out which of the sides is the hypotenuse. We know that the hypotenuse is the longest side, right? And we know that it's across from the right angle. So when instead of plugging in for the letters we did in the last lesson, we're just going to now plug in the 13 in for c squared. And the 5, it really doesn't matter which you plug it in for, a or b squared. I usually put it in for b because sometimes my b's looks like 6's and I just don't want to get that confused. So now when I plug those into my formula, I get a squared plus 5 squared is 13 squared. A squared plus 5 squared is 25. And 13 squared is 169. Now, a little bit different, this one. We have different sides now. We have this line. We have to get the 25 over here. So I have to subtract both sides by 25. And I'm going to continue my work over here. So I get a squared is 169 minus 25, which is 144. Not done yet. We got to get rid of this square. So what do I have to do to both sides? I have to square root both sides. And luckily, when I square root both sides, you get a nice integer answer. You get a is 12. Okay, if you need the calculator to help you with your square roots, you can. Okay, so that means this side is 12. And 12 squared plus 5 squared is equal to 13 squared. All right. So just plugging in for different letters into the Pythagorean theorem. All right, and there's our answer. Let's look at another one. Let's look at a word problem here. You have a 15-foot ladder and need to reach exactly 9 feet up the wall. How far away should the ladder you place, or how far away from the wall should you place the ladder so that you can reach your desired location? Okay, let's draw a little diagram because we have to draw our right triangle. So I'm going to draw my ladder leaning up against the wall. There's my right triangle. So my ladder is 15 feet. My wall is, it's reaching up 9 feet up the wall. I need to find out what this is down here, the distance it has to, how far away from the wall should the ladder be placed. So I'm actually trying to figure out, again, the leg of the right triangle. So again, we use the same formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And up here, I said a squared, right? You don't have to use a. You could use x. You could say x squared plus, what's the other leg? The other leg is 9. 9 squared is the hypotenuse squared, 15 squared. 9 squared is 81. 15 squared is 225. Again, oops, I forgot. I should do this. Draw my line. Minus 81 from both sides. 225 minus 81. I'm just going to do this on the calculator. Minus 81 is 144. You get a nice number. So you get x squared is 144. And again, I take the square root of both sides. And you get x is, again, 12. It's coincidental that we got the same answer up here as we did down here, but that's not always going to be the case. Sometimes you might have to round, right? When you put square root of square root of whatever in the calculator, you might have to round. Okay, let's look at one more with the diagram. A barn roof covers a span that is 32 feet across. All right, a barn. Let me draw a little barn here. There we go. So it spans 32 feet across. The peak of the roof is 23 feet above the walls. So the peak of the roof, there's the peak, is 23 feet above the walls. Now this one, it makes two triangles, but we know that on the barn, these are going to be the same exact thing. This side and this side are going to be the same exact thing. They're both going to have this height of 23. What we have to do though with the whole the span of the roof, we have to, in order to figure out what this one triangle is, we want to just focus on this one triangle. We have to cut this in half. So half of 32 is 16. Now notice here, this is a little different, okay? Because I have a right triangle now, but now I'm trying to find this side, which is the hypotenuse. All right, so we have 23 squared plus 16 squared is the hypotenuse squared, which we don't know, so we call it c squared, x squared, whatever letter you want to use. All right, 23 squared plus 16 squared. What's nice about this calculator, we can do that all in one shot. 23 squared plus 16 squared is 785. Oops, didn't want to change colors yet. Then we take the square root of both sides. And what is that? Square root, clear. Square root of 785 is about 28.0 if I'm rounding it to the nearest tenth. It's about C. I want to do one more that you don't get a nice integer answer for the leg. So I'm going to look back up here and look at these numbers. Let's take a look at 3 here. Okay, we have my A and B, right? So we have 6 squared plus B squared. Make sure your 6's and your B's don't look the same, equals 18 squared. All right, 6 squared is 36. 18 squared is 324. Minus 36 from both sides. 324 minus 36 is 288. There we go. So we get I'm going to write over here, B squared is 288. Now to get rid of the square, again, we do the square root. So we get B is square root of 288 is 16.97. If I have to round this to the nearest tenth, this gets bumped up to a 0, so this actually gets bumped up to 17.0. So it's about 17.0. It's not exactly 17, it's about 17.0. So I wanted to make sure I showed you guys one where you're solving for the leg and you don't get a nice integer answer when you round, okay? So so it's basically the same thing as last lesson, except now you're solving for the leg. Unless it's a word problem, you might be trying to solve for the hypotenuse. All right, so good luck with today's lesson. If you have questions, let me know. Feel free to reach out. Thank you for watching. Good luck.